Hello, this is Bishop Edgar Vann, and this is another edition of the VannTage Point. We're looking forward to our college fair that's coming up on February the 22nd. And we want to make sure that you are not only registered for it, but we want to let you know some of the features and some of the reasons why you ought to be registered and ready to get the information from this year's. As a matter of fact, it's our 26th annual college fair. I have with me the financial aid and scholarship director of Oakland University, Nicole Bulk. And it's a pleasure to have you with us. And we are delighted to have you on VannTage Point.
Yes, thank you for having me here today.
Yeah, so tell us just a little bit about Oakland University. We know that it's a growing university in our region and a flourishing university in our region. And so tell us a little bit about it and your role.
Sure. So Oakland University is an institution here in Southeast Michigan. We have roughly 16,000 students pursuing bachelor's degrees, graduate degrees. We have a medical school, folks coming back to us for continuing education after they have earned their degrees. We primarily have students from across the state of Michigan, but we do have international students, and much of our student body comes from the Oakland, Macomb, and Wayne counties. In terms of my role, I am the director of financial aid at Oakland University. So within my office, we are responsible for the packaging of student financial aid. We also are responsible for student employment on campus. And so we employ roughly 1,400 students a year on campus across the entire university system. And then we also, in my office, are the customer service or the face for student accounts. So we answer all of those questions students might have related to their student bills.
Well, I would imagine that this would be quite a department and a robust department at that you're leading. So that's great. And I understand that there's new leadership at Oakland University, that your president is full of energy and makes a lot of great things happen there. Tell us a little bit about the president.
Yeah, Dr. Peskovitz is an amazing individual, an amazing leader. She has been with Oakland University for several years now, but she really is leading the way in terms of public universities throughout the state of Michigan and also across the nation. She comes to us from a medical background, and so she definitely brings a level of expectation of student success, of access to our campus that helps our students really flourish once they're there and find their reason for being at school and provide opportunities to them. She helps us to open those doors and pathways for those students. We appreciate her leadership, and she definitely has us moving in the direction of making sure our students are taken care of.
I think that's so important because you can understand in this particular region in Southeast Michigan itself, there's all kinds of students that are available, but there has to be an attraction at Oakland University because there's so many other institutions that are in the region or close to the region. What is it that you think that makes Oakland University attractive?
So we call ourselves the University of Choice. So we are focused on a regional focus with a global impact. And so we are providing our students with those hands-on experiences, those experiential experiences to add to the classroom. So we're working very hard, number one, to make college affordable for students, but number two, to also provide them with connections to the community and to the workforce so that once you leave Oakland University, you're able to be employed in a profession that allows for upward mobility. We want to be able to elevate not only you, but also your family and your community as a graduate of Oakland University. And so we really pride ourselves on providing students with keeping debts low in order to have that well-paying job when you finish so that you can get to the goals that you want upon graduation.
And what kind of financial aid programs do you actually have there? There are a lot of people from various socioeconomic backgrounds who sometimes feel as if I don't want to apply, I'm not going to qualify, don't want to apply, don't know very much about, college aid, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What is it that you offer, and how do you offer it that causes students to feel comfortable?
Yeah, good question. So, of course, the driving factor behind most forms of financial aid is the FAFSA, the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. We do have our need-based aid grounded in that FAFSA application. So, more than ever, financial aid is available to students through the federal Pell Grant program from the FAFSA. The new state of Michigan Achievement Scholarship has expanded access greatly to students of most socioeconomic statuses. We have families making upwards of $130,000 who are receiving that Michigan Achievement Scholarship funding. But what is really unique to Oakland University is that we've also made a commitment to students who come from lower family incomes and family incomes that perhaps college might seem unattainable. So we have what's called the Golden Guarantee at Oakland University, which guarantees 4 years of tuition-free education to qualifying families. And so a student can come to us tuition free if they meet that qualifying criteria and finish that bachelor's degree in 4 years without having to borrow any student loan debt to make that happen. And so outside of our robust merit-based aid packages related to academics and performance in high school, that Golden Guarantee is promising a pathway for those students. Now, of course, we also participate in the Detroit Promise program, which is a free tuition pathway for students as well who are graduating from Detroit area schools. The Pontiac Promise, which is also a tuition-free pathway for students. And then at OU, we also have over 300 departmental and endowed scholarships. So donors who have given us money to also spend directly on students to help them with the cost of attending higher education.
Wow, this is great information. I mean, oftentimes, again, people are not aware of all of the different avenues and pathways that they can get in order to get scholarship assistance. And through many of those promise programs, they are able to come in tuition free, and you already have tuition free programs as well. The thing I've always liked about Oakland University that I think makes it a little bit unique is that it's close, but it's far enough to be away.
Yes.
And I think that that's a real good thing for people to feel. They will get the idea that I am away from home.
Yes.
But I'm close enough to home to get home if I need to get home. But I'm far enough away from home to have the look and the feel of being on a college campus anywhere in the United States.
Yeah, and if I could just mention one thing about that. So, of course, we have residence halls, very modern residence halls for students to live in. But for those families that qualify for that Golden Guarantee pot of money, that tuition-free pathway, we also offer grant assistance to live in on-campus housing. So through what we call the OU Housing Grant, students have upwards of $5,000 to use towards on-campus housing, which is about a little under half of the on-campus housing costs. So we want students to stay on campus with us because, like you said, it gives them that college experience. It helps with maturity and responsibility, and it helps with the connection of coming to school and being a grizzly at the end of the day.
Well, the other thing is that it's important, I believe, for parents and for students to do your very, very best to vet out all of these different options and opportunities so that you can know which one is best for you. Sure. Explain, if you would, the difference between a federal loan and a private sort of a loan.
Yeah, good question. So through the FAFSA, the students qualify for federal student loans through the direct loan program. That direct loan program is as long as the student is eligible to complete a FAFSA, the student is eligible to borrow the federal loans in their names. There are two different types of loans, and this is a little bit in the weeds, but there are subsidized loans and there are unsubsidized loans. Subsidized loans are actually interest-free while the student is in school. So that's not accruing and accumulating interest on those loans. Those loans, the student doesn't have to pay on while they're in school. So they are no payments while in school. Some can qualify for interest-free loans, and they start repaying those loans 6 months after they stop attending or graduate. And there are different repayment options and different loan forgiveness options. Public service loan forgiveness are folks who are working in public service industries who may have loans forgiven after a period of time. There's also the different income-based repayment plans. So they're very generous and flexible in terms of how we obtain those loans and how we repay those loans. The private student loan sector works a little bit differently. Those are credit-based loans. Often they have higher credit standards and interest rates in order for students to qualify for those private alternative loans. And they're not as flexible in terms of repayment and forgiveness options. So we always encourage students who are eligible to complete the FAFSA, if loans are needed, to use the federal student loan programs first. And then if there is supplement needed after that, private alternative loans or Parent Plus loans are options that we explore with students.
Yeah, some of the trepidation, of course, that students have and parents really have that I've experienced is that long-term debt, looking down the road and saying, literally, is this really worth it? What would you say is the value proposition of getting a degree in these days and times?
Yeah, so there's national data out there that a person who earns a bachelor's degree is going to make $1 to $1.2 million more in their lifetime than a person who just has a high school diploma. We at Oakland University work very hard to keep our student debt as low as possible. Our graduates on average leave with about $22,000 in student loan debt. You can't even buy a car nowadays for $22,000. A car depreciates over 7, 8, 10 years, whereas this college degree is going to provide you with the pathway to get that job for potentially $1 million more in earnings than you would have with just a high school diploma. So we work to keep that debt down at OU, but we're also working with students on repayment options that, depending on their income as they're earning, the payment options can fit their lifestyle when they leave school, and to make sure that they are able to live that life beyond that student loan payment.
Yeah, it begins to open up and speak to the issue of financial literacy as well. And when you're saying to a young scholar, a young student coming out of high school, who perhaps did not receive any financial literacy education, and all of a sudden their credit cards come into the house. All of a sudden, there's forms to fill out for financial aid. All of a sudden, the family feels pressured about the debt service that's going to be owed. Do you offer any sort of financial counseling or any sort of financial literacy training that helps people to really understand finance at this level?
Yeah, we certainly do. So we have at Oakland University, we have events on our website open to anyone that will help them with preparing to pay for college, also with FAFSA completion, understanding financial aid offers. But then each of our advisors also talks with students about budgeting, talks with students about borrowing, responsible borrowing. We partner with the OU Credit Union to also offer financial literacy topics such as credit cards and good debt versus bad debt, and making choices within a budget on what's needed, what's wanted. And so we are constantly having conversations with those students, not only about 1 year, but about 4 years to finish, and then beyond school, what repayment of student loans, if you have to borrow, looks like. So those are everyday conversations with us that we actually have programs in place with specific sets of students as well, where we're very intentional in those conversations that we're having. But we want to be open to anyone who needs that assistance from us and planning and having that conversation.
I'm Bishop Vann, and this is Vantage Point, and we're just so grateful to have with us Nicole Bulk, who is here from Oakland University, the financial aid director and director of scholarships as well at Oakland University. This is valuable information for any family, any student, any parent, any guardian, anyone who is interested in making sure that people move ahead, that your young student has an opportunity to access resources that are there and available. She's named program after program after program that is available, and opportunities that are available for you to go to Oakland University and to pursue your degree. You know, Nicole, let's talk a little bit about the challenges sometimes that do come up with families that are seeking to have their students pursue higher education, and money becomes the issue. And I've seen it cause a lot of consternation in a family where there are some hardworking people in this particular family, and they are adversant to debt themselves and adversant to that student getting immersed in debt. What would you say to parents who are very skeptical about this and who perhaps seek to steer their children in another direction and say, hey, why don't you learn a trade, or why don't you learn this or do that? You can make money. We're living in a world where people can make literally an income being a social media influencer, to be honest with you. So again, why should we steer them in this particular direction?
Yeah, so if I could start with one important message, it's that we do need parental support for a dependent student to complete that FAFSA. Doing that FAFSA does not in any way mean a student is borrowing a loan, nor does it mean that the parent is responsible for paying for an education.
That's good to know.
Right. But it does give the student the pathway for us to find options. And so we do need parental support for that FAFSA completion. Once that FAFSA is completed, it opens up the doorways for us to work with that family to figure out what paying for college is going to look like. This, beginning with the high school class of 2023 and now 24 and 25, the upcoming class, they, from the state of Michigan, have more support than ever to be able to attend school. But that FAFSA is the key to unlocking that potential. There are other programs that will help undocumented students. But if a student is living in a mixed status family and the student's a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident, the student is eligible for federal student aid, but we need the parental support to get that student that help. So my biggest word of advice is we have to do that FAFSA. From there, we can make choices. We can work with the student. These families might be amazed that they might qualify for that free tuition pathway, and that student may not have to take on any debt burden. Awesome. They've just changed that student's life. Academically is the other area that we just need to focus on, keeping that student eligible because they're earning the grades that they need to continue with their eligibility. But we really need that FAFSA done to know what pathways we can take with students to try to minimize debt as much as we possibly can.
That's good advice. College tuition, it continues to go up. It does not come down. It has become more and more challenging for families to afford college. The coming years will perhaps lead us into a place where there perhaps comes a boiling point here, where it is so high and the opportunity to get assistance has to match and keep up with the demand of higher rates. Mm-hmm. What do you see in the landscape of college tuition, in the landscape of the affordability for college in the coming years?
So I do think the state of Michigan is on the right path with the not only rhetoric, but also the movement of K through 14 education. So that Michigan Achievement Scholarship that I spoke about, the state's investment in directly to students, is paying about a third of public education, public university education. When you couple that with the federal Pell Grant, which there is a push, we're constantly doing advocacy for double the Pell, right? Double the amount of Pell Grant, because that opens pathways for students. When you pair even today's Pell Grant with the Michigan Achievement Scholarship, you're talking about more than 2/3 of tuition being fully covered for those students who qualify. What I see in the future is that, thankfully, in the state of Michigan, there is recognition that a bachelor's degree is needed for the 50 top hot outlook job forecast. And not only is the state saying a bachelor's degree is needed, but the state's putting the investment and the money behind that as well. And so I agree with you. Like, we are at a point where tuition can be thought of as being a barrier to a pathway to education. But I think you have the state behind the importance of education. I don't foresee federal student aid programs going away. And you have colleges who understand the value of the degree, who are continuing to invest in institutional aid programs as well, to provide those pathways for students to leave with as little as debt as possible out of that four-year education.
Yeah, I think that the state of Michigan's posture on that, though, can be politically manipulated.
Sure.
Depending on who's in power.
Sure.
And so I think that it's very important for you to take advantage of these opportunities as they continue to present themselves. There are those who wait, and there are those who end up paying more because you wait. It's not going down, and the opportunities are present. And my encouragement to you would be for each of you to regard that and to do just what you need to do to prepare yourselves for college and for the financial responsibilities that would be there. What would you say to high school students? As we have our college fair, oftentimes it is filled with high schoolers mm-hmm. that are looking at college. Mm-hmm. High schoolers and their parents mm-hmm. who are searching different colleges. We will have 30, 40, 50 different colleges and universities from all across the country represented here mm-hmm. on that day. Oakland University, of course, being one of them. But they will look around. And when do you start with a high schooler? And when do you start as a parent with a high schooler making preparations, and what kind of preparations should you be making?
Yeah, so you can never start too early. I have an 8th grader, and so my 8th grader and I right now are talking about, well, what do you like to do? What do you think you want to do? We're talking about he works little odd jobs, and we require him to save half of anything that he makes. He could spend the other half, but starting that culture of college going in the home is critical initially. When we get to next year, to his freshman year of high school, we're going to start talking about what different types of schools offer and what different types of schools what their academic programs might lead to. I would encourage taking college visits as soon as possible, just for the experience of, this is a small size school, this is a medium size school, this is a large size school. Where do I kind of see myself fitting? Additionally, I think choosing a school that has an academic program of interest to you. Because at the end of the day, the degree that you get is possibly the work that you're going to be doing, hopefully the work that you're going to be doing. And so getting to know those schools and what they offer is important early on. I truly believe, although not everyone has it figured out by their senior year, we need to expose kids in 9th, 10th, and 11th grades to the different schools that are available to them so that they kind of know going into that senior year, I've got to narrow down. These are my top choices that I really want to apply to. And then in terms of financial aid, all of us schools are required to have what's called a net price calculator on our websites, where it simulates what a financial aid package might look like. You could be doing that as early as 9th grade as well. Although financial aid can change year over year, it gives you an idea of, this is my school that I want to go to. Can I afford to go to this school? If I can't afford to go to this school, then I'm early enough in my search process to be looking at other schools and other programs that are offered out there. So I think as early as we can expose kids to the college culture and the college going process, the better it's going to be as they prepare. And then hopefully by the time we hit this point in the senior year, we have FAFSA done and going to the schools that we're applying to. College decisions will be coming very soon if they haven't already been sent by some schools. And that student knows how they're going to pay for that education because financial aid offers are coming as well to them.
I'm talking with Nicole Bulk, who is Financial Aid Director, Scholarship Director at Oakland University here in Southeast Michigan. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself a little bit more. What inspired you to be a part of the field of finance for students? What do you believe that you receive from this?
Yeah, so formatively, I grew up in the thumb of Michigan in a very rural farming community. I came from a very blue collar, dad worked at GM, mom was a homemaker family. I did well academically in high school. And for me, my decision of where to go came down to how much money I got, because that's how I knew I was going to be able to have a path to school. Luckily, or unluckily, I had a student employment job in the financial aid office at for my undergraduate degree. I knew I wanted to work in education. I didn't know where I wanted to work in education. I actually left and went into the banking industry for a minute, but I knew I wanted to find my way back. And so when a financial aid job became available at my former employer, I hopped into that position. And through constant curiosity, I've just been able to have opportunity for promotion and this opportunity for leadership now in higher education. But I do this because I believe in the value of education. And I believe that education, you hear it say it changes lives, but it truly has changed my life and my family's life and our ability to provide for our community.
So if you could share a success story, I'm sure that you become very close to some of these families in terms of their journey, academically and educationally. Share a story, if you could, of someone that you really believe that you've made an impact in their life for their educational journey.
Yeah, so my favorite day of the year is graduation day because we help those students make it. But I will never forget, I had a student who just didn't think that they could do it. They didn't think that they could academically succeed in the classroom. They didn't think that they would be able to retain their financial aid eligibility because they didn't think their academics would be where it needed to be to retain that eligibility. And very early, I saw something in this student, like this student just doesn't have confidence. Like if we can get this student confidence and can get them connected on campus, the student's going to be all right. And so I was able to work with this student's academic advisor to get them academic support in the classroom with tutoring support services. I was also able to get this person connected with residence halls and a person in residence halls that helped to bring them into the community And that when that student crossed that stage on graduation, she came up to me afterwards and she said, Miss Nicole, it's because of you and your belief in me that I finished. And, we had kind of lost touch over the years. I knew she was still around, but I didn't realize the impact that I would have in that little conversation of getting her connected to help her finish. And so she's off doing great things, and I'm thankful that I got to be a part of that journey.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's Nicole Bulk, and she is the financial aid and scholarship director at Oakland University. And it has been a pleasure to talk with her with regard to all of the wonderful things that Oakland University offers. And Nicole, if you would you look right into the main camera?
Sure.
And would you just give some insight to somebody might be on the fence? They don't exactly know if this is for them, if it's not for them. Maybe they haven't always been so great academically, but maybe they have an idea. I want to go to college. I don't know if it's affordable. I don't know if I can do it. What would you say to a young person like that?
So my word of advice would be there are support services on campus to help you be successful if you want to put forth the effort. So if you are willing to work with us, we are willing to put forth the effort into you to help you be successful. In terms of, can I afford it? I need you to do that FAFSA. That FAFSA truly changes lives and unlocks money for students so that we can support you financially to allow you to focus on being academically successful and figuring out that career path as you go.
Well, that sounds great. This is Bishop Edgar Vann. The Vantage Point, we have with us Nicole Bulk, who has let us know everything about Oakland University here in the Southeast Michigan area and all of the opportunities that are available to you financially here at Oakland University. Thank you, Nicole, so much for being with us. We appreciate all of the great information that you've given us and the inspiration that has gone out to those who are watching us. Thank you so much for sharing with us in this Vantage Point, and God bless each and every one of you.